Welcome everyone to the 125th Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be looking into Elizabeth Taylor and John W. Warner. This is part of an ongoing series I'm doing on my channel where I look into Liz Taylor's all of her relationships, all of her marriages. So this is part of that ongoing series. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Adeline, and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those young returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal planet signs aspects, and if birth times are available, house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us weekly, and let's get right into this one. Starting off with the sun, we have Elizabeth's sun in Pisces and John's sun in Aquarius. They are both open-minded and tolerant, and Liz may feel judged by John. John is uncomfortable with Liz's emotional dependency. Elizabeth's sun overlaid in John's 9th house. They teach the other, which I feel like, considering they are both open-minded and tolerant, I feel like that is a good, little foundation for them to have. It's a great and enduring friendship, and it's a relationship of mental stimulation. They both share similar views, and they both influence the other to be more culturally aware. I don't know what their cultures would be. I know Elizabeth, she's technically British American. So I don't know if John, what his background is or anything like that, but that is there. John's sun overlaid in Elizabeth's 2nd house. Marriage is not possible. I mean, this isn't the final reading we're going to be doing with these two, so obviously, didn't work out as such. Liz is a valuable asset to John, and Liz may feel used, which is a bit weird considering he's uncomfortable with her emotional dependency, but he can use it. I hope we'll see a bit more because that's not very nice. Liz senses John wants something more, and they both may be working towards a common goal. John sees Liz as someone who can help him achieve goals. I wonder if this is maybe him as a producer or something, because Warner makes me think of Warner Brothers. I'm not sure if he has anything to do with that or if that is just a coincidence. But if he's someone working with that, production company and everything, potentially wanting Liz to come on board, as an actor, because that's how they would do it back in old Hollywood, sign to an actual production company and, produce films of them, which is very different to these days. But potentially maybe that was something like that where they wanted, Liz Taylor herself to join them. That is just, came to my mind. Elizabeth's sun conjunct John's Jupiter. It's a friendship, and they're a lucky couple, and they have an optimistic meeting. There is healthy competition, and they enjoy travel together. They are open with each other, and they have lots of faith in each other, which I think it is nice. They seem to have an openness to this relationship so far. Overindulgence can easily happen, and benefit of the doubt is commonplace. Elizabeth's sun square John's Saturn. John sacrifices his freedom, and Liz is sensitive to criticism. They both attempt to support each other, which I feel like would be more coming from Liz's end, maybe, because it seems like she's playing a bit more of a supportive role for John, John literally using her in that way. So I don't know, maybe she was okay, she was tolerant of that, then over time she just got fed up with it or something like that. Hopefully we'll see more. Liz may outgrow John, and they both will mature, so potentially maybe she was the one that ended the relationship. John tends to be critical of Liz, and Liz feels blocked and discouraged by John. Yeah, if he is trying to if that Warner Brothers thing he is related to that, and it is that sort of production company setting, you would feel a bit blocked and discouraged to be pushed into one production company just because, your husband works there or something like that. That's not great. They both need to really want this relationship to work, and Liz sees John as older traditions she wants to overcome. I wonder if it is that production company thing, because we don't see that anymore. We've taken a bit of a turn into Hollywood rules and how actors, get work and everything. But I wonder if it really is Warner Brothers company. And maybe because of this, the changes started to be made where actors aren't signed onto production companies, because, that would be a tradition that, Warner Brothers himself is trying to uphold. and potentially Liz as an actor isn't into it, so that is the tradition she's trying to overcome. Otherwise, I'm not sure, but yeah, leaning into the acting territory, bit of an odd U-turn. Elizabeth's Sun, Trine John's Pluto. It's a transformative relationship and a productive relationship. They are fascinated with each other and they both want to get to know each other deeply. John inspires Liz to dramatically transform herself, which I assume is related to her like maturing and like outgrowing John. John's Sun, conjunct Elizabeth's Mars. They respect each other and they energize each other. Like, again, there does seem to be that openness here, that sort of friendship dynamic, still there. They both see the other as their type, and John sees Liz as too defensive. I assume it is just being that sensitive to criticism. Like, if he does tend to be critical of her, and then she's, a bit sensitive, she could totally be in the place, like, she's sensitive to it, so she's being a bit defensive of it. Liz sees John as too judgmental, which we're going back to the beginning, how she feels judged by him. They challenge and frustrate each other. John's Sun opposite Elizabeth's Neptune. Misunderstandings occur and John has a lack of trust, which we did see how they have lots of faith in each other, so I wonder if we will see a bit more. Delusion and deception occur and Liz promises more than fulfills. Again, making me think of like maybe some kind of contract she signed with Warner Brothers and then, didn't fulfill that contract. They both need to be clear with each other and John believes Liz is his soulmate. Now for the intermission, this video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry chart readings on my Etsy store. I do both basic and detailed ones. The basic ones are a bit more simple to understand and really good for those just beginning out in astrology, getting their heads around it, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed readings are very similar to what I do here, so it's a lot of it just with my insights and interpretation on the chart. So if you're interested in that and everything else, astrology and tarot, readings and gifts, definitely check out my Etsy store for that. I'm always releasing new other things there as well. And you can even just favorite the store just to support me for free. Thank you for listening and let's get back to the reading. So now it's time for moon. We have Elizabeth's moon in Scorpio and John's moon in Virgo. Liz has manipulative tendencies and Liz is loyal to a fault to John. So, the whole thing where John has a lack of trust, but it seems like they do have, lots of faith in each other. So it seems like, they're leaning towards being more loyal, but obviously we will see more hopefully. John has difficulty understanding Liz and both have a tendency to be analytical with each other. Elizabeth's moon overlaid in John's 5th house. Liz sees John as perfect, which it does go back to how they both see the other as their type. Liz drops her emotional guard around John and Liz feels an emotional connection with John. It kind of sucks if John, because we did see right in the beginning that he doesn't really like emotional dependency. So hopefully we'll see but more in more positive shift. John is flattered by Liz and John appreciates their emotional relationship. I hope he appreciates emotionally fulfilling Liz and not seeing her as super dependent. They have lots of fun together and they both enjoy spending time together. John's moon overlaid in Liz's 9th house. John idolizes Liz and John feels that Liz is out of his league. So going back to, again, how, they both see the other as their type, but also John seeing Liz as his soulmate. John brings out the best in Liz. Yeah, hopefully there is that element. We did see a couple times, healthy competition, but hopefully there is that element where, if he is bringing her on some project or to the production company or whatever as an actor for her career, hopefully, he does bring out some, good in her skills and everything. Liz might become emotionally attached to John and Liz might become dependent on John. So that's being repeated, but, I want to see a bit more repeated on John's end that he's happy with this. They share similar attitudes on politics and religion, and there's a possibility for long distance, which we did see the traveling together. So I don't know if we're going to interpret this as they're literally going long distance together or something like that. There's mutual respect, admiration, and affection. Elizabeth's moon trine John's Mercury. They're comfortable talking to each other about everything and they have a harmonious relationship. John enjoys being emotionally nourished by Liz. I'm not obsessed with this, considering we did see how he appreciates their emotional relationship, but we haven't seen a whole lot with John reciprocating. John provides a foundation for Liz's feelings, and Liz is comfortable expressing her feelings with John. I want to see something positive from John. Elizabeth's moon, trine John's Venus. There's mutual appreciation and it is easy to compromise. Like, there is an openness here and it does seem like they appreciate each other, so it's not like completely, dead. There's natural affection and they're a social couple, not surprisingly so. They're supportive of each other during conflict and they appreciate art together. So I assume, movies or something like that. Elizabeth's moon, trine John's Pluto. There's an intense meeting and they both will need to let go of fake personas, which sometimes I interpret this as like if they're actors on set, if they met on set or something like that. But I feel like with these two, it doesn't seem like they met on set. Like, we saw optimistic meeting, there was a friendship, so maybe they did. But this also could be related to literally their fake personas, like as public figures. There's a strong bond and they both bring truth and change in social and political areas together. I wonder if this is, because we do see that they shared those similar views, so that could be a possibility. But I also feel like maybe if this is Elizabeth, like maybe wanting to bring some change in certain areas. They're involved in organizations together. I think this is the only one where we could name an organization if he is related to the whole Warner Brothers production company. They can solve problems in their community and they can go through difficulties together. We did see before. They can both transform each other, which we did see that Liz does dramatically transform herself here. John's moon is sextile Elizabeth's Pluto. The relationship feels fated and both their irrational sides come out. Relationship presents opportunities for both to heal from the past. With Elizabeth, obviously, so I assume with John it is a similar situation. I don't think she ever had a situation where she was marrying someone like super young or anything like that. So there is very well potential for John to have a previous marriage even. They're involved in organizations together, we're seeing it again, and there's an intense meeting and a strong bond. So now it's time for Mercury. We have Elizabeth's Mercury in Pisces and also John's Mercury in Pisces, so same sign. They prioritize their feelings and emotions, which I'm glad, in a way they kind of are, because to be honest, to be fair to Liz as well, it doesn't seem like she's super, nourishing of John. We did see that at one point. But in a way, it seems like both of them tend to be a bit more selfish when it comes to their emotions, from what we've seen on their end. So, that's there. They are both invested in this relationship and they nurture each other. They are both sensitive and take things personally. I know we've seen this a bit more in Liz's end, but I feel like because John takes it personally, that Liz is taking things personally, you could see that as well on his end. They understand the other's intuitive approach to life. Elizabeth's Mercury overlaid in John's 9th house. Travel, culture, and philosophy are common topics of conversation, and John is impressed with Liz's knowledge. So yeah, it seems like they are fairly equal in this relationship in terms of knowledge and stuff like that and what they contribute. Of course there seems to be an element like Liz being an actress and then John potentially being a producer, I'm feeling like. But still, she's very well, powerful in Hollywood still within her own right. I'm assuming, this is post, Cleopatra. That's my only timeline I'm working with here. Liz gives John a greater perspective on life. John's Mercury overlaid in Liz's 3rd house. John is more chatty around Liz and John enjoys long conversations with Liz and Liz will enjoy conversations with John. Yeah, I feel like communication-wise, we haven't really seen any issues thus far. Elizabeth's Mercury conjunct John's Jupiter. John introduces Liz to lucky connections, not really surprisingly so. If we are going with the theory he is Mr. Warner Brothers himself, he would have many connections. It's a relationship of learning and John encourages Liz to expand her horizons. That's an interesting little note. Traveling strengthens the relationship and Liz helps John to be practical. John feels his thinking is valued by Liz, it's nice to see that there is a good intellectual rapport. It seems like with these two, they have a strong intellectual bond and it's a favorable business partnership. Elizabeth's Mercury square John's Saturn. There's a deep respect for the other's intelligence and Liz can be intimidated by John's practicality. Liz feels inferior to John, which I can't say I'm really surprised considering we've seen that he's irritated by her dependence, he's critical of her We also did see she feels very judged here. Like, even though she seems to be very well within her own power, I mean, it is, the time frame that we're dealing with. And like, if John is like a big producer in Hollywood, unfortunately the cards weren't in Liz's favor. There's serious tone in conversation, and negativity and criticism take over conversation. They both question their role in their relationship. So if it is a matter of like Liz challenging John's like actual ways of business and everything, and she has some of her wits and brains about her, I'm sure like it would be more so in Johnson questioning their role, but also Liz, if she feels like quite powerful, but then in this relationship she feels very inferior, that's not great. John's Mercury trine Elizabeth's Pluto. There's deep conversations and there's revealing of deep dark secrets here. Liz helps John open up his mind. So it seems like what I'm imagining is that sort of like quote, like, the like something about like the wife turning the neck of the head of the man. There's some quote like that that's coming to my head. Like, even though John is the more powerful one, it seems like Liz is kind of helping him, switch his direction, switch his viewpoint a bit. There's healing negative beliefs about previous relationships, which we're seeing again, and it's a therapist-patient relationship. They get to the bottom of matters, which we did see how they are able to like deal with challenges and difficulties together, so that's nice to see repeated. They feel very close together. John is fascinated with Liz's depth, and Liz appreciates John's humor and easygoing nature. So now it's time for Venus. We have Elizabeth's Venus in Aries and John's Venus in Pisces. There's an intense attraction and Liz leads. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, she has some assertiveness here. Not a crazy man, but there is like a little, assertiveness, a little fire within her. Liz finds John enticing and John's unclear nature is confusing to Liz. They have a lot to offer the other. Elizabeth's Venus overlaid in John's 10th house. Work is their focus and Liz sees John as someone that can help her improve her status. So it seems like both are kind of, I don't want to say using each other, but like, in a way, yeah, for lack of better words, they both are using each other in a way. And we did see how John introduces her to Lucky Connection, so that is there. John sees Liz as having talent in areas he lacks. I mean, if he's not an actor and more of like behind the scenes producer type guy, yeah, obviously. They work well together and areas of expertise complement each other, which I feel like would really lean into the little theory I have going on here. If Elizabeth is the one that influences the change in how actors get work with production companies, that is an insight John wouldn't have otherwise if he's not an actor, because obviously Liz is the one acting. She's the one dealing with the contracts and like getting, that sort of end of the contract, dealing with that side of things. So that definitely is like, areas of expertise helping each other out. It's a productive and profitable relationship and they respect each other's strengths and skills and they both want to be the boss, which, going back to how like they both question their role in their relationship. John's Venus overlaid in Liz's 3rd house. John feels more comfortable around Liz and John sees Liz as easily approachable. John makes Liz happy and they are good friends. I wonder if they were some friends of some kind before, because we've been seeing that a lot here. And like with meeting wise, we did see mystical meeting, and I think we also saw like there was an optimistic meeting, so that's there. There's easy and natural communication and they trust each other. Elizabeth's Venus square John's Pluto. There's a fine line between love and hate. This is something I've not pointed out before. I feel like compared to other readings, this reading is fairly relaxed. With the other readings we've done with Elizabeth, I feel like there was a lot of love-hate. This one, we haven't seen a whole lot of love-hate. I feel like it's like dislike with certain things, and obviously the power struggles don't help. Power struggles happen, not surprisingly so is it. They bring out each other's deepest insecurities, and there's an intense fear of losing each other. They cannot be just friends after, and John has the higher power. Yeah, if he is like Mr. Warner Brothers himself, unfortunately, yeah. John's Venus trine Elizabeth's Pluto. It's emotionally fulfilling. I mean, they both seem to kind of get what they want out of this emotionally. Like, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of like mutual, with their emotions. But, if it works for them, hopefully it does. I'm a bit worried about Elizabeth, but, besides that, they do get a little something out of this emotionally. It's not likely to grow stale, and they both enjoy growing from this relationship. They want to have children together. I'm not sure if they ever did. I imagine by this point, not sure with John, but I imagine by this point that Elizabeth would have had at least like 1 or 2 kids already at this point, I think. So that's there. Maybe wanting to raise children together, or like literally having children together, that's there. John sees Liz as a soulmate. We're seeing this again, and John considers Liz irresistible. I mean, we did see like how marriage is not possible, but we're seeing here at least like why they got married in the first place, particularly with John. So now it's time for Mars. We have Elizabeth's Mars in Pisces and John's Mars in Taurus. It's an easygoing relationship, and Liz pleases John. John gets irritated with Liz. The only thing we've seen is like her like sensitivity and like her emotionalness, dependence and all of that. Liz has difficulty asserting herself over John. Yeah, that seems to be a problem. It's like she feels like she's in her power, but in this relationship she doesn't, if that makes sense. Like a sort of power gets taken away a bit. John doesn't pick up on Liz's subtleness. Elizabeth's Mars overlaid in John's 9th house. There's a strong need to travel together, we're seeing again, and they have an easygoing chemistry. Liz is more straightforward around John, and Liz feels she can have a good time with John. Liz is drawn to John, which I think we're seeing again repeated. John's Mars overlaid in Liz's 6th house. John energizes Liz and they exercise together. They're relaxed and calmer around the other, and John is flustered around Liz. Yeah, he seems to be very like, into her. I mean, obviously why he married her, but very like seeing her as a soulmate, really likes her and all of that. Liz can see through John. Okay. Their Mars signs are squared together, so there's a lack of basic understanding of each other. I feel like in some ways there is, but it seems like generally like an open relationship in terms of like them being open with each other. They push each other and it's difficult long term. So I imagine, the whole marriage not being possible, probably it's the long term element that didn't work for them. Elizabeth's Mars conjunct John's Jupiter. They're a lucky couple and there's healthy competition. We're seeing, I think, both of those two again. They have lots of fun together and Liz feels energized by John, which is nice to see that we're seeing on both ends repeatedly that they feel energized by the other. They feel stronger as a team than by themselves, and they encourage the other to engage in reckless behavior. Elizabeth's Mars square John's Saturn. Liz tries to impress John, and John's standards are in conflict with Liz's efforts. So I assume this is where Liz feels a bit more like inferior and judged by John. It seems like she's trying to impress him. Potentially this is where he's quite critical of her, what she's trying to do for him. John may try to control Liz as he thinks she is immature. This is something I don't like, considering the whole like Warner Brothers thing, production thing, and potentially them wanting to get Liz on to, make the company successful and all of that. Because like if John owns that, that's a bit of an awkward dynamic, signing on your wife to your business in that way. John's Mars trine Elizabeth's Saturn. Liz is the anchor, which we did see how she's loyal to a fault to John and all of that commitment stuff from her end, so that's there. They both can achieve a lot together, which we have been seeing sprinkled throughout this reading. John finds Liz's predictability attractive and John feels he can depend on Liz. Liz appreciates John's individuality. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I'll be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one. I feel like this was the least chaotic reading I've done with Liz Taylor in this little series, so I'll be curious to see what you guys have to say about this one specifically. Definitely need to check if any of my theories were correct today. If you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings weekly. And besides that, give this video a like and I will see you guys next time. Bye!